What's good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts, and we have done it. We are in the Club World Cup final facing PSG or Real Madrid. And my word, what a display, what a game that was. And Joao Pedro, brother, you've got a man dreaming, you've got a fan base believing. What a display he put on for us yesterday. The strike, the finishing that he produced in that fixture was sublime. Two very different strikes, with the first one being an outside of the box curler with precision and placement to beat the keeper in that top right hand corner, and the second strike with pure venom, crossbar breaking, giving the keeper no chance to get near it. It was an unbelievable display, a starting debut, no nerves whatsoever. He was linking up with all the players, and then he's just showed us what he can do with his finishing. There's a lot of question marks on the Joao Pedro signing from quite a few sort of in and around the fan base as to, we all knew he was brilliant. He can link up really well, but one thing, and even he mentioned it himself, he doesn't take enough shots, and I cannot understand why. Look how he strikes the ball. I cannot remember the last time I have seen a Chelsea striker strike the ball so well, and it was beautiful to watch and filled me with so much confidence having a forward that can not only link up, not only works hard, because he works his socks off. He was back defending the corner, and then the next minute he's up top, controlling, linking up the play. His all-round game suits the way that we want to play, the way Maresca wants to play, and then you just add in that cool, calm, and that precision finishing that we have been lacking for season after season. It was a great display, and his goals have carried us into the final. And for me, he starts the final. No questions. I know Liam Delap is coming back off his suspension. Jackson has served his and had a few minutes out today. But for me, Joao Pedro has to start. And I am so happy that we have brought this guy in. Again, early days, but if he can continue the consistency and bring what he brought in this game against Fluminense, we have got a real player on our hands. But look, let's talk about this game as a whole. The Fluminense team, they were well up for this game. They had a game plan. The fixture was fiery. I mean, in the first 5-10 minutes, big, heavy challenges were flying in from both teams. Both teams wanting to stamp their authority, to put their physical presence on this fixture. And I have to be fair to the ref, and I can't say it about a lot of the refs in this competition so far. He let the game play, he didn't give out any early yellow cards, which could have potentially stunted some of the fiery and the physical nature of this game, which would have, made the spectacle not as great as it could have been. And that's great for him. He just let the game play. I think we only really saw some yellow cards in the latter part of the second half. So there was enough, freedom in terms of the players playing as you could possibly want to allow the game to flow naturally, which, I have to give my props to the referee on that. And Fluminense, they worked to their game plan. They pressed really high, really quickly, tried to win the ball back as fast as possible to hit us on the counter. And when they broke on the counter, they did make some dangerous opportunities to, in and behind our defensive line. However, I have to say, defensively, I thought we were superb. I thought Tosin and Trevor dealt with everything, on the floor, aerially, which was going to be very important. We know sometimes we struggle aerially. I thought they were brilliant. They won every header, every ground rule that they needed to win. They pretty much won. I thought Gusto and Cucurella had a superb game. Cucurella, turning into a goalkeeper at one point, which we'll talk about in a second. But as a unit, a defensive unit, they were solid. The only sticking point I have with this defensive unit in the game was our goalkeeper. Sanchez had an okay game, but he had that moment, that moment that we all expect him to have in a game. He has the majority of the game, he's okay, but he has these moments where he looks like he's away with the fairies. He's in another planet, and then suddenly he switches on, he remembers he's playing a football match. And that's what happened today. A ball broke in behind the line, player ran into the box. He had an opportunity to come out and claim that ball, had loads of time to do it. He hesitated, he stayed on his line, and then at the last second decided, oh, actually, no, I am going to come out. Went out, tried to make himself big, failed. The player tapped it past him. And of course, we had the goalkeeper in Cucurella fly past and get that ball off the line. Saved Sanchez in that instance. Otherwise, we'd all be, having a massive go. And it could have been a tipping point in the game. It could have changed the flow. It could have changed the outcome in a sense, because that was quite a vital moment. But there he was again, Cucurella saving Sanchez's butt cheeks once again. So he's the only real stickling point I have in the defensive unit. Other than that, I thought both fullbacks, both centre backs were brilliant. Gusto again. And I have to say, in this game, Gusto and Cucurella didn't invert as much. They had occasions where they come inside into midfield, but most of the time they were just up and down the flank, which suits Gusto because he is fullback. He wants to be bumming up and down the wing, not coming inside. So that side of the game suits him. Cucurella, we know, can do both, but it was just interesting to see that they didn't invert as much in this game. Moving in to the pivot, how great was it to have Moises Caicedo back? He just mops up everything. He nullifies any attack that's coming through. He puts the fear in players. The amount of times I saw the wingers from Fluminense have the ball, attacking the fullback or trying to cut inside to attack the centre backs, and they'll be trying these little these little flicks, looking confident, looking like they're going to do something, and the next minute they catch Caicedo in the corner of their eye and they just brick it. They panic, and the next minute Caicedo's in there taking the ball away. And it happened to every single player that got the ball and had Caicedo around him. They just bricked it, and he would just come in and take the ball from them. And then you look at his partner next to him, Enzo Fernandez, who is just going on by strength and strength in each game, more goals, more assists. And there was a time under the Pochettino era where we were saying, can Caicedo and Enzo actually play in that pivot together? Because it didn't look like they could. They really struggled to understand each other's spacing, to know when one could go, when one can sit. But it seems like they've come up, and I think this is partly down to Maresca embedding in a bit of structure into how they work together as a pivot. And I think it has suited both of them. And Enzo now, he's picking out, he's playing a very similar to a Jorginho role, but has a lot more quality. He's got a lot more pace on him. He's not as sort of a slow mover as Jorginho, but he dictates the play. He dictates the speed. He dictates the intensity. He dictates how we move, all from that deep line midfield spot, but then he engages in to the attack, which is something Jorginho never really did. But Enzo is on the end of the crosses. He's breaking in. He had an opportunity in this game where the cross come in and he was, having that late run into the box where he could have tucked it away, but I believe it was Thiago Silva that actually got the block in. But he's just elevating his game in so many different ways, and he is becoming an important player, not just in terms of what he can bring on the ball, but his leadership qualities. Obviously, no Reece James on the field, so leadership was something that we were missing already. Another player you look to is Levi Colwill, again, missing from this fixture due to a suspension from the last game. So we needed Enzo to bring that leadership, and he's a winner. He's a World Cup winner. He brings that leadership. He brings that grit and determination, that fiery side of the game, and it breeds through the team, and they all start doing it, and they're all just bonding together. And I think the team spirit at the moment is as high as it's ever been across the board. Moving into, we had the left wing of Pedro Neto, another brilliant game, another player that has gone from strength to strength from sort of the back end of the season to now, and especially in this tournament in particular. He's been one of our standout, if not standout player of this entire tournament. Every game he's playing, he's getting better and better. His confidence is growing. He's taking players on left, right, and centre. He's putting in great crosses. It was his cross that went in that ended up coming out to Joao Pedro in the end, who got, the strike away for the goal. And what he's doing is he's doing it consistently now. He's doing it game after game. He's not doing one really good game, disappearing for 4 or 5 and then coming back. He is a player that we are looking to produce those, quality performances game after game, week in, week out. And he's doing that at the moment. He's been superb, and hopefully long may that continue. And moving in, to the number 10 role, Palmer. I thought the first half he was not really that into it. I don't think, with the way Fluminense compacted the midfield and how tight their defence was, it didn't really give a lot of space for Palmer. There wasn't a lot of space for him to operate and, do his little tricks and to create something. And as the game went on, especially after the first goal went in and they came out and they, wanted to score a goal themselves, and it created a lot more space in behind. And he used that. And, coming towards the middle part of the second half, he was skinning a defender. I think one time he was turning one of them about 4 or 5 times. Went to do it a second time, and the player ended up kicking him out because he had enough. But that's what he was doing, and that's what Cole Palmer is like when he's confident, when he's on it. He's on a different planet in terms of what he can do with the ball and how he maneuvers his body to just create this little bit of space out of absolutely nothing. And he was doing that pretty much the majority of that second half, which was great to see. He's building up that confidence, which he's lacked for so long. And hopefully it's getting it back to where he needs to be to produce those spectacular numbers that he was producing under the Pochettino run and the first part of the Maresca season. Right wing. This was an interesting one, not one that I expected, if I'm going to be honest, in Nkunku. And I have to admit, he did really, really well. He is a player that, I've criticised for being disinterested, not really up for anything, not part of the team. We knew he was going. He knows that he's going. So I didn't expect him to produce any sort of display, whether be good or a little bit good. But I have to admit, in the last few games that he has played in this tournament, he has looked really, really good. He's creating things. He is getting in positions to score. He is a bit, off on his shooting, I have to admit. He could have had a few goals in this game. He could have had a goal in the previous fixture against Palmeiras. So the shooting is one thing that he's still lacking a bit of confidence in. But other than that, he's getting stuck in. He's aggressive. He's moulding with the team, which is one thing that I think has been a massive problem, as it just didn't look like he had any chemistry with any of the players. But that's changed a little bit, especially in the last few fixtures. There's a little bit of chemistry building between quite a few of the players and himself. And I have to give him praise. He is doing really well at the moment, and he is actually providing something. It's not like playing with a man down, which, again, fair play to him. He knows he's going to go, and even though he's put on these displays and he is playing well, I still feel that he needs to go for his sake. I don't think he really fits in the team, but if he's going to produce what he's producing at the moment and get us over the line and potentially be involved in the team to win this cup, then fair play to him. Then he fully deserves the opportunities that he's been given. Moving into, obviously, the forward in Joao Pedro. We've spoken about him. I've waxed lyrical. What a superb game. He's got Liam Delap and Nicholas Jackson absolutely sweating right now. They are panicking. He's produced a brilliant display. And as I mentioned, he's got to start the next game. And this is one thing we've really been missing. And we've spoken about it quite a lot. The competition in the forward line we haven't had. And now we have. We've got 3 young, hopefully hungry forwards that are now going to compete for this one spot. And we've obviously had Nicholas Jackson for a long period of time, and we've always said that someone's need to come in. We brought in Liam Delap. He's come on, got an assist on his debut. He's then scored. So he's gone, oh, there's the pressure for Nicholas Jackson, but we need the pressure on Delap as well. And then we've got Joao Pedro that's just come in and absolutely wiped the floor with anything that these two have done so far with those 2 sublime strikes. And now we've put pressure on both of them, going, if you want to beat me to this starting spot, you need to produce same, if not a better display than what I've just done. And that is great to have in this team. We've got to have competition. And I think this is going to be the making of all 3 of those players. Still a bit 50-50 if Jackson is going to stay. He's obviously come out saying he wants to stay, he wants to fight. He's using what's been said about him as criticism to push him on. Great if that's what's going to happen. Brilliant. It's only going to benefit us. But there was an occasion in this game where he did come on, broke down the line, should have played it across for Palmer, easy tapping, but he's gone for the near post finish and fluffed it into the side of the net. And it's these little moments of key decision making that he's got to correct in order, if he wants to be a starter or even compete for that spot. For me, at the moment, based on what I've seen, it's Joao Pedro, Delap, Jackson. He's third choice for me at the moment. And, it's down to him to push those other two, and it's down for the other two to push him. And hopefully, this is going to be a very positive thing for all three of those players, especially being how young they are. They should relish in this type of competition. Some of the other subs that obviously come on in the game, we had Andre Santos, which come on to just solidify that pitch, to break things down. Though Maresca says he can't do the Caicedo job and he sees him more as Enzo Fernandez, whenever I see him play, he does the Caicedo job very, very well. He's putting his body in. He's drawing these challenges to break up play and allow us to gain control of the ball again. So to me, he can do that role, and then he's flying forward and getting involved in the attack, so he can do the Enzo Fernandez job too. So he's a player that I feel that can do both if needed. And midfield is a position I think we are stacked in, and we need to be, with the rate that Lavia is picking up injuries. We can't have Caicedo playing every game, every minute next season, because he's going to burn out. We had an instant in this game where he looked like he's rolled his ankle, had to come off. Luckily, he was walking, he could put weight on it. So hopefully it's something he can treat and be ready for the final on the weekend. But again, we need to have cover and backup, and what we've got in the likes of Andre Santos and Dario Sugo is not just backup, but it's quality players that can play these positions to allow, these players to have rest and hopefully prevent them from picking up injuries going forward, because they're going to be vital for the season, and they're going to get, a lot of minutes. We've got a lot more football this season that, is going to be played, especially if we get to the ending of the competitions, we go through to the finals. There's a lot of football to play, so we need to have this balance, and we need to have a stacked midfield to compensate all these players and give them enough time to recuperate and rest, so they can keep us fresh and as fit as possible. And then just to touch briefly on the Madueke substitution, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments below. To me, he looked like a player whose mind was elsewhere. He didn't look on it. He come onto the pitch, he was trying things normally he would do very easily, and they were failing. He was getting dispossessed very often, pretty much every time he was on the ball, and you can see that his mind is just not with the football at the moment. Maresca's come out, said he doesn't want players here that don't want to be here, and we know that Madueke has agreed personal terms with Arsenal, although nothing has materialised since then. We know that's in the background, and we know that's playing in his mind, that he is looking to leave currently, and that when players are not in the right mindset, they can't produce the best football. So for me personally, I don't think he should be anywhere near the team come the final. But that's my personal opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think, Madueke should be involved in this squad? Of course, he's been, a vital figure getting to this point. But when a player's mind is on something completely different, they can't give you the best version of themselves. They can't produce the best football that they would normally produce, because they're focused on other things. At least in my opinion, that's how I see it. But as I said, love to know your thoughts. Just drop a comment below if what you think on the Madueke situation. But look, on the whole, I think the team gave everything. I thought the performance was brilliant. I thought individual players that needed to step up, they stepped up, they gave everything. They got us over the line to book us that place in that final, and I couldn't be happier. I'm gassed to know that we are one step away from winning this cup. And I just want to take a special mention out to Thiago Silva, a player, a quality footballer, 40 years of age, to still be doing what he's doing and still one of the best centre-backs around. He's just such a great player to watch. I love the fact that, at the end of the game, he's gone into the dressing room to see, all the Chelsea players that he would have played with in the past. There was a video going around after with him being given a Chelsea shirt with his name on. It's just beautiful, man. And the fact, though he wasn't with us for a long time, he spent, 3 or 4 seasons with us. He came at the back end of his career. What he has imprinted on the fan and, and the club itself, it's phenomenal, and it's one of those players that I wish we got earlier and we had a longer time with him. But he's gone away and he's made himself a cult hero. And in my eyes, a legendary player for Chelsea for what he's achieved, what he brought to the club in a moment of sort of disarray and dysfunction. And he brought that stability and just that assurance at the back when we needed it more than anything in this team. And, you know, I could do with a Thiago Silva in the team right now. But yeah, you know, just a special mention on him. I thought he had a great game again. And it was just lovely to see, like I mentioned, that video with him holding up the shirt with his name. You know, it's so good that he still, you know, is involved so much within this club. But look, guys, it's one game. We got one game left. One more victory so we can call ourselves world champions. And I don't know about you, I'm absolutely gassed and I want this opportunity. I want that gold badge on my shirt for the next 4 years so we can go around and say, we have won it all. You know, we've won every trophy there is to win and we will be the first real world champions. I can't wait. I cannot wait for this weekend. I cannot wait for this fixture. And I don't care who it is, you know, PSG or Real Madrid. At the end of the day, you want to be the best. You've got to beat the best. And this is going to be our first real opportunity to test ourselves against, you know, the big boys. We've been out of the Champions League for a while. We've been craving these type of fixtures. So it's our chance to now show that we are at that level, you know, and this opportunity for the players to, you know, show if they are at that level. So it's a big moment for the club and the players, and let's see if they can get it over the line. But for now, guys, if you are enjoying this content, please hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Feedback is greatly appreciated. Take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one.